everyone's going to be freaking tired. We've all got, a lot of us got kids. A lot of us work hard, train hard. We're all going to be tired, but so why not be to be a little bit extra tired, but be able to run through the bush by yourself at night, or do a sup down the river and do all this shit that people think it's accessible to anyone. You just got to be open to it and expose yourself to it, and it's pretty easy to have an epic life.
Yeah.
Like, you just got to go after it.
It's pretty easy to have an epic life.
Yeah.
I reckon that's a pretty cool one-liner too.
It is a great one.
Yeah. This podcast is recorded on the lands of the Gadigal people, one of the 29 clan groups that make up the Eora Nation. We acknowledge the traditional owners who are connected to this land and acknowledge their unbroken connection and sovereignty to all the lands that now make up Australia. We extend that acknowledgement to all of the traditional owners connected to the country you may be listening to this podcast from. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land. Before we get into today's episode, we do want to warn listeners there is some content that could be triggering for some people. If there's anything that's brought up today that affects you, know there is someone out there to listen. Make sure you call Lifeline on 13 11 14. Hello and welcome to When We Grow Up, the podcast where we ask where we've been to know where we're going. My name is Marley Silva.
And I'm Nico Hines.
And today we are joined by a world record holder, someone who's just completed a 40-hour surf. It's Blakey Johnston sitting here next to me, no shoes on, in a hectic matching tracksuit, looking very at home behind the mic. How are you?
Well, thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah, cool. Well, we are so excited to hear all about your motivation to do this incredible feat that you've just done, and yeah, some of the stuff that you've done throughout your life. But I did have to ask, I've been following you on Instagram since you did this surf, and it seems every day you're starting with a barefoot run quite early in the morning. Did you do that again today?
I did that today, yeah, I did.
How far?
Yeah.
Anywhere, it's got to be a minimum 7. I got this kind of OCD with the number 7. It's always been my favourite number. I had 7 people in my family growing up, in a big family. So, yeah, my favourite number, got it tattooed on me. And just when I run, I want to finish on a 7. So it's got to be above 7. So 7 to 10, or sometimes half marathons. Just depends what I'm training for or how I'm feeling as well.
And that's why you surfed 507 waves?
707 waves.
707 waves.
707.
She wrote down 500 and I said, no,
Oh,
that
that
was
was
way more than
the-
that.
The
That was
original
more-
goal was 500 because I thought, man, that's a lot of waves. And then I just kept going. I had 500 at 5 a.m. on the second day. So
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, right. See, I told you there was
Okay,
more.
sorry.
You're
My
better at your
mistake
job and
there. So 7 is the reoccurring number. Okay,
yeah,
fair
you'll
enough.
see. Now you have to look at the Strava, or you'll be like, oh God.
Yeah.
He
8.07.
got a Sharkies number 7 jersey the other day at our game.
I did.
Well, yeah, I was going to say that.
You know who else
aligns
was number
with you.
7?
Yeah, we know. That's you. That's you. So, yeah, I did want to ask, when did you start running bare feet, and why is it that you do it like that?
Totally by accident. I was surfing my favourite wave in the world. It's called Desert Point.
Mm-hmm.
It's on, I think, the west coast of Lombok, and it's it only breaks when the swell's really big and you get a speedboat from Bali or catch the local ferry, which is pretty feral. But got there and I was there with 2 mates and surf was pumping, and I got smashed, cut my foot, and at that time I was training for my first marathon.
Uh-huh.
And I got back to Bali a day later. You only go there for a day or two because it's in the middle of nowhere, and tried to put shoes on and run on the treadmill because I wasn't running outside there because the Bali dogs and that are kind of gnarly. So I was, just ran to put the shoes on, and it just bled out. Like it was like a big cut. So I went, stuff it. I'll run barefoot on the treadmills till I get home. Got home, and because I was surfing so much, the ulcers get like volcanoes, and it was right on my heel. I still got a callus on my heel here. It was this big hole, like proper, like that big. So when I put the shoes on, a first step, it just bled again. And I was like, that's a really painful spot down there in the bottom of the Achilles.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, I'll just go barefoot. It was the middle of winter and it was brutal. And I just went, I'm not going to stop running every day. And I just end up running barefoot every day. I don't have a proper program. I definitely don't look to me for the safest guidelines for training. You'll probably learn about that today. But yeah, I ran every day barefoot for, I think it was 100 days straight. I ended up doing the Sutherland to surf barefoot. did the City to Surf barefoot and the Sydney Blackmores Marathon barefoot. And I had no shoes, obviously, no water, no food, no supplements. Just did it completely bare to see if I could get it done and got it done. So.
And I mean, yeah, we're clearly going to get into your mentality, like the way that you're able to kind of do what you've just done. And yeah, that's insane to think that you're just like, it's too painful. Let's just go barefoot and then push in that way.
The barefoot's not much better sometimes,
Yeah.
And I'm in the water so much that if I think you must have the strongest feet. And I'm like, I'm soaking them in the water all day long. They are softer than anyone's because I'm in the water surfing or coaching all day,
That makes sense, hey?
So when you were in Bali and you decided to go barefoot, that cut on your foot, did it still hurt or you just push through the pain?
It still hurt. It still hurt a little bit. Like it wasn't, I could still obviously walk on it because on my heel. Yeah. But no, it was just, I was just keeping it clean because the water's pretty filthy over there.
True.
It wasn't that painful at all. It was just the annoying spot when I put shoes on.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, we do like to start all of these chats by doing a little thing where we get everyone to reflect on a win and a challenge from the week gone by. So this is something we've done in the last couple of chats that we've had. Hey, Nico, so do you want to?
No, you can start us off.
You start us off. You start us off because I actually haven't picked what my ones are yet.
Oh, that's a real good podcast host coming on here not even thinking about what you're going to talk about. Anyway, all right, I'll go first.
See, I told you. I warned you.
You're staring at already.
A win for me would probably be, I know we speak about this podcast a bit later than what's actually happening in our week right now, but we beat the Roosters on the weekend. I'm off a long bye, and it was like a pre-season couple of weeks. Fitzy was very filthy with our defence for the first few rounds, and then we had a really good win against the Roosters. Challenge. Actually, I had an infected knee, and it was like a little minor staph on my knee, and it stopped me from going for surf or going in the water and doing my morning routine or doing some recovery ice baths. So that was a bit of a challenge and something I don't want to experience again because it was pretty disgusting. All the boys would pay me out at training about, you got to boil or whatever. I find myself a really clean person, and me getting staph has really bothered me. So yeah, it was a bit of a challenge. Marley?
All right. For me, a challenge in the last week is I've just been so tired, for no good reason. I've been trying to go to bed early and everything, and I don't know if I just have to listen to my body, and I thought for a hot minute there, maybe I was getting sick or something, just pump some Armour Force. And I think I'm getting some of my energy back. But
maybe you should go running barefoot and you might.
Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe that's the step that I'm going to take after this chat. But a win for me was just a really fun moment actually after your game on Friday that you were just talking about. I was working the other footy game that night, came from Manly sort of quite late to get to Cronulla and walked into Northies, and my mum and dad were on the dance floor going absolutely mad, fully they were 20-year-olds again. And there was just a few other friends of mine there that I haven't seen in ages. And it was one of those moments where I was like, oh my God, everyone that I love is here. And it made me really, really happy. So that was a win.
Nice. Blakey?
Epic. So the win for me was last Thursday night. I got 11 guys to do a night hike with me. I've got this mental health group we call the Sunts.
Yeah.
And it's one of the pages I run. Just it started off with me and a few of my mates doing our crazy challenges, but then as they saw that we don't do those crazy things all the time, they were like, oh, those bush runs you do are cool, or those sups you do are cool. I'd like to come along. So it's kind of grown into this authentic. It's pretty big of a 40 or 50-year-old guy to go, oh, I'd love to come join you on an adventure or sup. So it's turned into this kind of organically turned into this group. But some of the challenges are too big for some of the boys, not everyone wants to run barefoot for marathons and all that sort of stuff. So it's just opening up to more people and inviting them on different things, and people get on there and say, I'm going for a run out Kurnell, or I'm running along the beach in the morning, and it's never huge groups, but there's about 90 on the WhatsApp feed, and 3 or 4 normally turn up.
Awesome.
The other night we had 11 on a night hike, and it was a 29-kilometre hike through the national park at night.
Wow.
And 11 of them turned up at the ferry. We got the last ferry from Bundina.
Yep.
So there was no turning back for them. I planned it all, and just said we're going. And I did 15 Ks of that barefoot, and it was so brutal. I had to put shoes on orderly. I felt like a pussy, but I was like, I couldn't do it, man. It was all washed out from the rain. It was pissing down rain on my feet. I was just going too slow. And then I put the shoes on and marched ahead, and the boys were like, slow down. We thought this was a hike, but just making up for lost ground.
Did anyone else join you barefooted?
No, man. It was actually pretty brutal. My feet are still cooked from it, actually. But
and a challenge.
And the challenge is that's a good one.
Yeah.
Challenge. What's been the biggest challenge for me? Just finding more time to surf. You know, like it's been super busy since the world record, and I had a week off last week, and we surfed my brains out and foiled, and it was an amazing week down for Easter with my family. And then since I've been home, it's just, you know, the challenge is me just being more organised. Like it's an ongoing thing. It's not just the last week, but just being more organised with my time so I can get it. That's why I get up early, make the most of it. If I didn't do that, I wouldn't get half the things done. I do.
True.
And on that front, like, obviously you got a lot of attention straight after, or even the lead up to the surf, and then throughout it and beyond it. How have you found that? Is it something that excites you because you are able to sort of talk about the reason that you did it more, or are you kind of like, oh, this is a bit weird?
No, absolutely. Like I know that I can make a difference. You know what I mean? And I've always kind of known that because my surf school, I've seen people's lives change through surfing since I started doing it 18 years ago. You know, I've seen that happen, and people connect with me, and people often reach out with me even before my dad passed away and I had that experience. I've always been someone who has a lot of empathy and compassion for people, and you know, it's something that, you know, I'm really proud of. Not everyone's like that, you know, and I think it's great that I'll be able to know now that almost globally I can have an impact on making people know that they're worthy of, you know, living a good life and being proud of themselves.
The whole reason you've done this was for that purpose, right? To help people and help change lives. Did you expect, or did you know the tension was coming and you're like, all right, I've got to, once I finish this, I'm going to have to do all these podcasts. And like Marley Silver's another one who's jumped in your DMs. You probably wanted to have a break, but she's making some money. But did you sort of knew it was going to happen, right? Like this was going to happen, this media attention.
Look, I knew it would be pretty big, you know what I mean? There'd be some opportunities to keep it ongoing afterwards, but not to the scale I did. If we get into talking about the record, I had never thought about anything so positively in my life. I used to compete internationally, like I was a paid pro surfer, and I never had this foresight and this feeling of knowing that I was in the right place at the right time. And that was sort of what it felt like. And when I was, you know, running past the alley every morning, I'd envision a crowd way bigger than, you know, I just over-exaggerated. I just did it so many times that I'd sort of started to feel like this is going to happen. No matter what I go through, I'm going to have this massive packed beach. And sure enough, there was 10,000, 7,000 people or something like that.
We're there
on the beach, right? So, I mean, it was a true, I don't like the word, but manifestation. And I felt it. I've lived through it. Like I can vouch that you can do.
So
exactly
manifesting is real, people. Manifesting is real.
It is, but it's. I think what people don't get is it's timing too. Like it will happen. It's just you got to trust the process, and it might not be next week, next year. It might be 10 years, but you're exactly where you're meant to be every single moment of your life.
So. Love that.
Yeah.
It's awesome to hear.
Well, I think it's now probably a good time for us to go back in time a bit and figure out how you got into where you are right now and a lot of that mindset. So as I did mention to you before we started recording, I went through and stalked the hell out of your Instagram, and I found some pretty cool photos from a younger you. So if you just look behind you, this is a young, I'm imagining a school photo for you, Blakey.
Shark tooth necklace. Yeah, that's probably year 5, I reckon.
Yep, and you've got some shark tooth necklace, some very bright white blonde hair. You can't even tell if you've got eyebrows because of the lighting of this photo.
Look at these things. They're horrible.
So tell us, who is that, Blakey? What were you like? You grew up in the Shire. What was your upbringing like?
It was pretty special. Yeah, I'm one of 5 boys. 2 older, 2 younger. So I was the one in the middle.
Yep.
And there was so many good experiences. Dad was a builder. We moved around a lot. We had a little stint in Queensland for a year, always trying to get ahead, and Dad worked his absolute ass off. You know, Mum was busy with 5 boys and trying to make money work and everything, and we definitely weren't well off, you know, but Dad worked as hard as he could. For a period of 10 years, he actually worked 7 days a week for 10 years, every single day, like not a day off. And that's pretty amazing, you know. And he was first a bricklayer and then a builder. So he was working 6 days a week at his job on the north side. So he'd drive an hour to work and back every day. And then work on Sundays doing renovating houses and trying to sell them and do it. We were living in and out of buildings they were doing. But we always lived within a few minutes of the beach, and that was what he led us into. He was a really good surfer when he was young. He won the first ever state schoolboys, which was cool, but we never heard it from him. He was heaps mellow. He's heaps different to me. He was really calm. And, he sort of took us down that path, just by surfing so good, and we were amazed by what he could do when we were really little and didn't quite get what it was. Then my older brothers took it on, got sponsored, and by the time I was like 8 or 9, I wanted to be like my dad and my brothers. And, I just followed them over the hill. We lived along the golf course at Cronulla, which is, 2-minute walk to the beach. Just put the board on the head and walk over the hill with dad and brothers. And, I'm sure dad was pretty cooked most of the time coming home from work and have a little froth and grommy waiting for him. I was too young to go over by myself. But, go over and chase my brothers around in the water was epic,
It sounds unreal, and I imagine having a role model, I mean, in both your parents, all the sacrifice and hard work they were doing to wrangle 5 boys and provide for them would have instilled in you that work ethic. Do you think that that's had a big impact on the kind of person you've become?
100%. Yeah, like I look at all my brothers and they're all got different careers and they all put 100% into it. You know what I mean? Like they all turn up. They all have, I think that's the biggest lesson we got from our dad. It's just being authentic, saying what you're doing, what you say you're going to do, and I think that's something that I try and live by. Just thought about him a lot since he's passed away, and you think about you go through a lot of emotions with it, but you think what your takeaways are from why you are, what he's instilled in you, and it's things he like I said, he wasn't anyone that give advice, one of those dads that would give you advice and tell you this and that. He was a really cruisy guy that just lived by example, just what he did, to provide for his family, and he obviously sacrificed his own mental health and health to do that. After doing that for so many years, it's going to take a toll, right? And he didn't put himself first a lot of the time, and after 45 years doing it, he's deteriorated. So it's
Living with 5 boys, eh?
Yeah.
How many punch-ups were there?
Reckon heaps, but I was like in the middle.
Yeah.
And so my 2 little brothers are taller than me. I'm only 5'6", so they were taller than me from about 8 years old, and they're like 2 and 6 years younger than me. And then my 2 older brothers, so little brothers would have a fight with them, and then when I bashed them, my older brothers would pick on me, or my older brothers were picking on me because I was in the middle. I was kind of like, what? But no, it was funny. That was funny. There was some funny things my brothers did to me, man. Some funny things they did to me. Yes.
What's the funniest story you got for us?
Oh, it's really funny, but just like it happened a couple of times, like getting doubled on the little pushy to 7-Eleven to get a Slurpee after a surf. And my brother would have just got his peas and he veers us off the road, so we crash into a bush, throws me in the car and leaves my mates at the pushy and drives me to the end of the beach, like 4 kilometres away. This is before we had mobiles. And drops me up the end there and says, sucked in. Don't see my mates for the rest of the day. So things like that, just little things.
That's great.
Little stitch-ups.
And then my older brother ripped, and he was the first one sponsored and everything. And then when I was 9, I paddled out in board riders heat, and I was just the littlest grommy. And back then it was 4 best waves. Yeah. And I came in, I was just stoked to actually be down with all the board riders and hang out with the older lads. And he was over checking the scores when he came, and I beat him and I knocked him out because I caught heaps more waves and the waves were terrible. I would have fluked it. Yeah. And then I saw the look on his face, and I bolted home and locked myself in the bathroom for like, I reckon it was 4 hours. I locked myself in the bathroom until Adam came home from the beach eventually, and Mum was like, "Where's Blake?" He's like, "He came back ages ago." And they went looking for me through the house. I was locked in the bathroom, scared of my brother.
Do you claim the best surfer in the family now?
Hell yeah. They all still, like I tell them, people, like even my little brothers, like people, because I own the surf school, people would give they would pay so much money to surf and have as much competence as you, and you guys barely even surf. They're so ocean aware. They're and they can paddle out and still rip a wave, but they just don't have the time, or they don't make the effort for themselves to get stuck into it. But they paddle out and they're still ripping.
Yeah, gross. Yeah, that's mad.
Well, the next photo I wanted to bring up is a pretty funny one that I think is quite telling of the young'un you were. It's a newspaper clipping of an interview with you, and I just had a few quotes that stand out. It's you. How old do you reckon you're there?
Is it not saying? I would have been 14. No, 15.
14, weighing less.
15.
49.5 kilos.
Yeah, weighing less than 50 kilos. But these are some of the really nice quotes from this little profile with you. Your answer to the worst habit you had was picking your nose. And if you weren't a surfer, what would you be? You said a porn star. So at this age, Blakey, what were you like? Were you just a bit of a rat bag? Clearly,
to get reaction out of your mates, you know what I mean? Like that would have been a group interview kind of thing. We all would have got it to fill out. That was at a pro junior, so I would have just tried to be entertained.
Can I mention?
Yes.
It says, what would you like to be if you weren't a surfer, a porn star, but your nickname's Pindick? So I don't know what sort of porn star you're going to be.
My nickname was actually Oompa Loompa.
Yeah, okay.
So I just made that. I said that just to try to be funny.
I don't know what sort of porn star would be good with a Pindick, but anyway.
I never even thought about that. It's a good pickup.
First sexual experience. Sick. I love that.
That was probably like the answer to I don't have one yet. I don't want mum and dad to find out.
Yeah.
Seemed like a pretty funny dude back in the day.
I just had a lot of energy. I've always just had that energy, you know what I mean? I wasn't the funny grom, but all those guys were way funnier than me. But it was just, it's what they're like, you know, heaps of energy, surfing and carrying on. And I had it pretty good. Like for at that age, I was already getting paid to surf around the world. So it was pretty epic, you know. Yeah. And I was always pretty grounded by having such a big family. Yeah. But yeah, I was pretty freaking cheeky at times too.
What about your mates? Like, what sort of impact are your mates having? Because I know when I was growing up and still obviously chasing my dream to be an NRL player, like my mates were so good for me. They didn't, well, obviously had a fun time, but they also made sure they stuck on the road of following my dream. And I'm still best mates with all them now. Like we had a grouse time. We'd power each other, banter, would have a piss up every now and then, but they were so good for me and they still are now. Like what were your mates like then? Like similar?
Well, I got to travel so much from a young age. So it was like I met a new group of friends as I started to travel and travel. And they were on the same path as me, trying to qualify for the world tour. Yeah. And the guys at home were doing the same thing. So I didn't really have, like you said, that really close network pushing each other through. Surfing's an individual sport and it can be quite selfish in some ways. You know, you've really got to create your own path and everyone's doing it differently. And, you know, I would have loved that. You know, I think that's so important. I think that's what Australian surfing in general has lacked in the last 20 years, really. We haven't had a world champ since Mick and, you know, and that's why the Brazilians and stuff are doing so good. Their camaraderie and their passion for it. They stay down and watch each other at all their heats. And Aussies tend to not be as connected to each other like that. And I think that's a valuable part of high performance, you know, to that holistic approach. And I think that's really important part to the puzzle as well. And I would have loved a tighter network, but things are different then too. Like you've got different sponsors. So you're traveling with different people because it's getting paid for over here and your mates go over here. So, but you do develop some really good relationships through that on your way through there. I've got friends, Ace Buchan was on the world tour for 20 years. We were tight when we were young, and then
Central Coast boy, Ace.
Pardon?
Central Coast boy?
He is, Avoca.
Avoca?
Yeah.
Shout out, Ace.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think Nico and I, we've reflected on this before, like if you could be any other kind of, well, I'm obviously not a pro athlete, but if I could be a pro athlete, I'd love to be a surfer because you kind of see it as this very cool lifestyle of all the travel. And it's interesting that you say that, maybe we're lacking some of that camaraderie in the Aussies now on tour and whatever. But what was that career like? And what do you think, it taught you about what you wanted to be beyond it? Because you've come back and now you've got the Cronulla Surf School that you run.
Yeah, the surf school,
so like, was it just you wanted to give back or how did that come about? Yeah,
it kind of just happened pretty organically. There's someone helping me out as well, getting into the surf school. So I did, like I mentioned, I did really good as a grom. I was getting paid more than my teachers when I was in year 10. I missed 2 terms of school in year 10 and still passed, and I got back in year 11 and just went, I've got to focus on surfing. But at that time, I had a lot of media coverage as well, so you get budgets to travel and money to pay. So I did both. I sort of did enough comps so my ranking was okay, and then chased photos as well. So my profile was good, but with the events, I should have focused more on them, thinking more long term. Thinking more growth mindset. What I'm going to be doing in 3 to 5 years. I want to be on the tour then. But I was kind of trying to sort of protect my profile that I'd had when I was a grom. So I was, well known and had great coverage and all those things that come with it. And then I I just sort of dispersed myself too much. I should have just had that one goal and focused on that competitive edge to build my ranking and build my seating to be able to perform when I needed to make the world tour. And because of that, I got to like 21 and the media coverage was lacking because I had to chase the points and money started getting paid less. And I did my last year in Europe doing the events all over through France and Spain and Portugal. And then the guy that owned the surf school said, why don't you buy half of it and finish the year off and then come back and work the summer? And I came back and did that. And then after that first summer, I bought the rest of the surf school off him. So
yeah.
Is that when you stopped doing the professional?
Yeah, really? For sure. Yeah.
And how old were you then?
I'm like 21, maybe 22.
You
That's
stopped the tour?
young.
22. Yeah, I was doing the QS, so trying to qualify for the main tour. There's only 10 people a year get in.
Yeah.
And I definitely didn't reach my potential from what I had, I hate that word, but I definitely could have had a better growth mindset. I was pretty fixed on protecting what I'd done and what I'd had and not so projected forward and doing that too. I would have loved I look back, I think a mentor and someone that was helping you not just with your surfing performance, but with your life and your directions and stuff around that would have been really helpful. Like you said, you had your mates. Like I reckon that's very valuable to a lot of.
Those questions about asked actually. Like, if you had a mentor, or was there someone you looked up to? Like for myself, I didn't really have a mentor. I had my brother and my dad, but as in like someone I looked to was Jonathan Thurston. Like, he's done everything in the game. His demeanor off the field, who he was. Like, I looked at him, and every day of my life I wanted to be Jonathan Thurston. I don't know whether you had a mentor. Was there someone you looked at like that? You thought, "Yeah, I want to be like you, and that's what I want to do." Or
it kind of changed. Obviously I had pro surfers that I looked up to, and it was just probably based off their performance and their image as a surfer as well. So back then it was guys like Tom Carroll, who were the fit, clean living, hardworking surfers, which was pretty rare back in those days when I was really little. So that was an inspiration of mine, someone like Tom Carroll, obviously Kelly Slater. And then as it came into business and looking after that, that was more close to us, like someone that had like Manly Surf School have been powering. They do an amazing job, and he has an amazing lifestyle around it. Granger owns that. So just transitioning into that and going, well, this is something to achieve for, the lifestyle he has and the effect he has on the community around him because of what he's offering, what he does and who he is.
Yeah, awesome.
And you've now had the Cronulla Surf School for 18 years, you said? Was it 18?
Yeah, Cronulla Surfing Academy is... Yeah, I think it's 17 years now.
Yeah. And you were saying before that you've seen the way, being involved in the community and working with the young people who are involved in that, you've seen them, like, their lives change and have a really positive impact. Well, yeah, what's it like working with that next generation and in this job now?
It's all I know. It's all I've ever been. I haven't really grown up, so I'll have a mate, some of my best mates are like, they just paid me out for hanging out with 12-year-olds. I'm like, I don't care, man. I'm down the beach surfing and doing it. Look, the business it's tough. Running a small business is really freaking hard, especially when you're exposed to the elements like we are, dictated by what happens there. There's a lot of logistics and everything that goes there. But as far as being with the kids, that's what it's all about, and the adults too. To see them actually be vulnerable, they learn to bring out the kid in them, to take it back away from their normal mundane lives. Or we all get pretty good at things that we practice when we do our jobs and our hobbies and our professions for so long. To go and learn something new where you're sort of exposing yourself a little bit, showing that vulnerability, I think there is so much strength and power in that. And that's what I love seeing from the adults when they're at the surf school too, just being a kook. Like my saying, because it's surf related, is you got to be a kook to be the duke. So it applies to life, right? Everything. So
Marley's a bit of a kook with sport.
Yeah. Yes, undeniably.
But before we go into the world record, I know we want to talk about that. Everyone's listening to wants to hear us talk about that. For all the party goers out there, the surfing world of party scene is pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Any cool stories? Probably.
Ones you can't tell.
I'll be freaking honest. I was not the wrong. You're the wrong guy to ask that.
Yeah,
but I've definitely got some good stories.
Yeah, okay.
Because not that I don't drink now. I haven't drunk for about 8 years.
Yeah.
By choice, not by anything that happened or anything. But it's a pretty cool story. Me and two of my mates lost in Huntington in California.
Yeah.
And
Did I get Huntington?
we were like, we all made the money around. We had US dollars. They paid you in cash back then too. So we all had a couple of grand cash. We're like, let's go to Vegas.
Yeah.
So we were only, honestly, I would have been 19. And you got to be 21.
Yeah.
Or maybe I was 21. I had to have been 21.
You got a fakie?
No, maybe. No, I was definitely younger than that. Maybe we had fakies.
We
did actually. No, we did.
We don't condone fakies on this
No,
podcast.
but it's like let you
no
in
one
anyway.
cares. No one
cares.
checked. No,
Nah.
we had them, but it was all too easy to get them and everything anyway. But and we went over there and had a pretty wild couple of nights. But one thing, we went into this party, and my friend's name was D. His initials were D. Ross. And we went up to in the Hard Rock Hotel, and they have these crazy parties in the pool area. There's like 4 or 5 pools and can fit 1,000 people or whatever. And he went up and just said, "Yep, D. Ross." And the guy just gave us 3 wristbands. It was like a couple $100 to get in. Gave us 3 wristbands, and we went through and just like hugged each other. It's free drinks and everything. And then helicopter comes down, drops all these balls in the pool, and everyone's scrambling for the blue balls, because they had $100 bills in them, or chips in them to play the poker on the edge of the pool and stuff like that. But
searching for the blue balls.
We didn't sleep for 3 nights.
I'm sure there have been a lot of men in there with blue balls that night.
You're a dickhead.
Shit, it's probably they did that on purpose, probably.
Yeah. But yeah, it sounds like a fun time.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah,
it was pretty sick. When we did sleep for 3 days and just partied and
love that.
Yeah, it was pretty wild.
You're telling these beautiful.
I can't say anymore than that. I was like,
off
where's this going? Shut up. Shut up. You'll get someone in trouble.
We'll switch back to the more wholesome side of things, like you're saying, what you're doing with the young people now and everything. And of course, your life of the last couple of years has led to you making this decision to try and break the world record of the longest ever surf. How did that conversation first start?
I'd been challenging myself since that Barefoot marathon.
Sorry, when did you do that Barefoot marathon? What year was that?
Like 4 years ago. I can't remember. I think it was 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago. And then I just felt so good about doing it and doing it that sort of raw as well. And I just kept pushing myself with training. Like, I'm a surfer. I want to surf. I run because I can get up in the dark early, as you know, and run and get training done. I got kids I want to hang out with too. I love my boys and I love hanging out with them. They love you too. Yeah, they wish they were here. But and so I just kept training and the intensity of the training and doing all these little personal challenges on my own. And I end up, running a few 100-mile runs and 100-kilometer runs and doing all through the bush and doing marathon submissions and doing all things just to personally challenge myself. And just saw, again, that group I was talking about, the Suns, just friends get inspired by it slowly, firstly thinking I'm mad and then going, I'm going to train with him as I, do that training he does in the morning and come over to the bush and run with him once a week and do this thing. So it's all, you just see the power it has for other people around you when you look after yourself and really try to be the best version of yourself. It inspires the person next to you. It might not feel direct. It definitely doesn't happen instantly, but that passion you have for life and loving it, it's for everyone. It's energy that gets pushed onto everyone around you and makes their lives better, helps them see what they're capable of doing. I always say if a battler like me can do it, anyone can do it. You got to want to do it first. Yeah. But anyone can, and I truly believe that.
Yeah.
They don't need to run 100 miles or surf for 40 hours, but it's they can actually do anything if they commit themselves to it.
Do you find that your mates or the men who are involved in the Suns are people who kind of underestimate their capability or have just never thought about this stuff? Are you just opening their eyes to go, but you can do this?
Look what's accessible though. People think that, you're mad getting up, but everyone's going to be freaking tired. A lot of us got kids. A lot of us work hard, train hard. We're all going to be tired, but so why not to be a little bit extra tired, but be able to run through the bush by yourself at night or do a sup down the river and do all this shit that people think it's accessible to anyone. You just got to be open to it and expose yourself to it. And it's pretty easy to have an epic life.
Yeah.
You've just got to go after it.
It's pretty easy to have an epic life. Yeah. I reckon that's a pretty cool one-liner too.
That is a great one.
Yeah. And so at what point did you start planning to surf for 40 hours?
Okay, so I did the Melbourne the wave pool in Melbourne.
Urban surf, yeah.
There was a corporate day. I was like, and someone who works for me, his wife's a mortgage broker, and she got invited to it. She's like, "There's no way I'm going." And said to her husband, "Do you and Blake want to go?" And I'm like, "Yep, 100%."
Yeah,
So we paid fair bit of coin to go, but I didn't care. And we went down there, and it was a pretty sick experience. And then by the third hour that we had booked, all the old boys and most people were dropping out going, they were tired. Like, you get a lot of waves in that. And then I was like, sick. And I was looking around, I'm like, there's 3 guys in the pool. And I'd surf for like 5 hours. And I was like, if I catch a wave, 2 waves a set, they come in like waves of, 8 or 12 sometimes, but
like
8
or 12, yeah.
Yeah. And I started going, if I catch 2 waves a set, I can get 100 waves a day. So I end up surfing for 7 hours and catching 100 waves that day.
Wow.
I was cooked. Like, it's pretty hard work. And I was stoked. Had a good day. And then just on the way home on the flight, just flew down there for a day. I was just like, what's the Guinness World Record? And I was like, it's 30 hours. And I was thinking, okay, yeah, no worries. And then next year I did a 100-mile run. And I injured myself, so that ended up taking 40 hours. And I just went, sick. If I can run injured for 40 hours, surely I can surf for 40 hours. Like, I'm a reptile. I'm
I'm a
in
reptile.
the water. I'm no one's as conditioned as me for that.
Yeah.
I'm 40 and I look 80, but it's all good from being down the beach and having a good time in the sun and doing that. So I'm conditioned for it. That's what I thought anyway.
Yeah.
It was arrogance for sure. Going, I could do that. Didn't respect it from the start. You need a little bit of that, I think, when you set these crazy challenges. But so I just looked at that and then thought about it. I was going to do a run because it is 10 years since my dad took his own life. And I was thinking I was going to do a run. I want to bring in people. Mental health's about community and feeling connected. And I was going to run from Currumbin to Cronulla.
Wow.
And run 50 Ks a day and stop in and surf with guys I used to travel with on tour. So I brought in that, check in on your mate, connection, do something active outdoors. And I thought it was a sick idea. And so I mentioned that to my brother, Ben. And at that time, he was just started the Chumpy Pulling Foundation. I said that to him. He's like, yeah, we'll support that. Like, not that pumped. And I was thinking, it's just another run, but it means more to me. Like, and then I kept thinking about the world record, had a few big surfs and stuff. I surfed like 10 hours in Fiji one day and I thought, that's good. And then I just thought I could do this world record. And I mentioned it to my brother Ben. He goes, we'll fully support you with that. That's you. That's awesome. I'll do whatever you need to do to get the right people behind you if you want to attempt to do that. Yeah. And with his help, my wife's help and the team at the Chumpy, they pulled it together. And I mean, I would have done it with my mates, with the Suns. So I would have had them there on the rocks and they can vouch for me.
Yeah. That
I would have done that. Easily tried to break the record on my own and sitting at the alley with them having a couple of beers and watching me or whatever. I would have definitely done it because I've said it. And that's something that I was talking about before, and the authenticity and, making sure that you do what you say you're going to do. It's something I strive so hard for. And if I say something or put it on Instagram, I got to do it. Yeah. Got to do it. So it's done.
Well, I sort of wish you'd done the no, I'm glad you've done this, but the 50K run a day, because Marley tried to do a 50K walk a day, couldn't handle it and got in a little pussy bus and had to drive it the rest of the time.
Excuse me.
So if you done that 50K run a day, I would have been like sucked in. Marley.
Now it's lame.
You can't even walk it.
But now it's lame. I think, Ned ran 100 Ks a day. And I'm only doing 50. That's why I was kind of thinking, this is kind of
Ned did it for everyone.
Yeah. And I'm like, right, it's gnarly. Like, respect to anyone that's done any of that, man. Yeah. You push through some dark places to get there and to do it for a bigger cause than yourself is amazing.
So preparing for it, what did you do?
Well, I actually trained less to prepare for it. I felt good. I wasn't running every day. I was running, still running 50 Ks a week, but just surfing bit. I'm in the water a lot, so as far as conditioned to the sun and the elements of my eyes and all that stuff, there's no really way to train that. I knew I was going to be fit enough to do it easily. And sleep deprivation, I don't sleep that much. I mean, if you follow me on Instagram, I get up at 4 and go to bed late playing after I wrestle my groms, but something I'm working on, getting better at that. I know it's important for your health, but.
Did you do a overnight surf just to practice that?
I did a few night surfs. Yeah, I've done a few of them in the past, but they're not that cool. They're not glamorous.
Yeah, right.
Doing an hour, a bit of novelty, but after a couple of hours, it's like that light's super bright. You can't really see the wave that good. No one's ripping in the dark,
Yeah, it's true.
So it's more novelty. So I learnt that pretty quickly on the first morning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Far out. And I mean, to hear you say like you're so conditioned for this. So because that was one of my big things when I first heard that you were doing this is like, how does your body react to being in the salt water, physically doing something that is as, uses your whole body like surfing?
Yeah.
when you got out, you looked pretty knackered. We were all
Yeah.
there on the beach watching, and there were paramedics, and you kind of got
Yeah.
ushered away and whatever. So what does it do to your body to be in there for that long?
It was sort of, it's really hard to explain because I was taking a lot of things in subconsciously. Like I was in this space where I was just accepting everything that was going on. You know, like my eyes hurt. I had to close my eyes. Guys, I don't know if they were doing it when you were out there, but they were like, "Yeah, there's no sets. Go for it." That's like I could see, but it was stinging, and I could barely open them fully, and I could still obviously surf. I was still surfing properly, but it was like when I got on a wave, I had this energy to surf the wave properly, to rip the wave up, and then, but paddling out like be duck diving waves. That first day wasn't small. Hey, like,
no, it was
especially in the dark.
side.
When I started, it was 5 foot easy, maybe 6 foot, and it was just closing out. And yeah, but your body I was just so depleted everywhere, you know, like, and even when I've done big runs in the past, the whole body hurts, not just your legs, right? The shoulders, top of your shoulders hurt from a running. Like, what's going on? Same as surfing. It wasn't just my shoulders, my hips from sitting on the board. It was the bottoms of my feet from standing on the wax. Do anything for 40 hours, anything, sit here and eat for 40 hours and sleep, you'd be hurting somewhere, you know? So to actually be physically moving and doing that was a whole body experience.
Yeah.
Well, the Sharks lads and I come out for a surf with you, and you only told me just before we walked in here that you don't remember seeing me out there, which is pretty crazy because that was what time did you start?
Started at 1 a.m.
And then we got there at about 8 o'clock, I think. And you're still carving up, like catching the waves like you haven't caught a wave in your life. And it was such a cool experience to be out there. But yeah, you said to me you don't remember seeing me at all, eh?
Nah, I remember you being there.
Yeah.
Because Bobby, my grom, he paddled out when you were there.
Yeah.
And he goes out, I'm like, you're sick. And I'm like, cool. And it was a pretty big surf for him. He's a little tacker. And but I remember you being there, like on the beach. I don't know how. I saw a photo of you from Chucky the other day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I remember Chucky, and that I knew you paddled out.
Yeah.
But didn't remember anything that if we had a close interaction or anything.
You probably wouldn't remember then because I come out again on my own a bit later.
No, I do remember that.
Yeah.
Is that in the Arvo?
Yeah, in the Arvo. In the Arvo, I come back out.
But everyone was out there, eh?
Yeah. That's when I think the board riders might have had the little competition.
Tag team, yeah.
But that was awesome too. I was back out there again because I was like, man, I want to get back out there with him, eh? And then I remember I woke up at like 3 a.m. on, was it the Friday morning you finished? Friday or whatever it was. And I was like, I was just picturing what you're up to. And I was like, wow, if I didn't have training in a couple of hours, like I would hop up and just go sit there and watch you. I wanted to come down so bad.
Yeah, you said that to me too when we were there in the Arvo waiting for you to come out. Yeah, that at 3 a.m, you just wanted to go out.
Yeah. And then
so funny.
And then like fast forward to like the afternoon, like that was one of the most amazing experiences I've ever been a part of. Like the whole community. I've only been in the Cronulla for a year and a half now, I'm pretty sure, but I've never felt more a part of a community in my life. And like, that's all because of you, man. Like you should be so proud. And I know you might not remember coming in, but what you remember, what do you feel? How did you feel coming in and seeing like everyone on the beach, like chanting your name, so excited, and how amazing that would have felt?
There's a few funny stories before that. You know, I get that. About 2 hours before I'd finished, one of the local schools had come down for their sport. I can't even remember what school it was. They put up a keep going Blakey. They put this big sign up at the alley.
Yeah.
And then I'm mates with all the lifeguards. Obviously, we work together with all of the 30 or 40 of them. And they were taking turns on the shifts to water security as I started to deteriorate throughout the last day. And that was a part of the plan anyway. And I kept saying, what are all these people here for? Really? Are they here for me? I asked them about 10 times.
True.
They're like, mate, they're here for fucking you. Like, what? I'm like, oh, okay. Are they really? Wow. Like, it was pretty sick.
Yeah, it is sick.
Just remembering that, just being just blown away, you know, and just not going, oh, they're here for me. Like, it was pretty sick. Like that happened like 4 hours before it happened.
Really?
4 hours before I came in at the end. But I mean, the crowds were pretty big or even from the start, man. There was 200 people at 1 a.m. on a Thursday before I'd even paddled out.
That's awesome.
Like, it really, it's just what Cronulla is about. It's what you can, hopefully it inspires other people to know you can have this impact, you know. Like I do care about a lot of people and I do care about Cronulla, and I think that's shown as well through it, you know.
Yeah,
like,
it definitely has.
That we can, happy to make a difference and bringing everyone together. I look at the photos and I'm like, every single person, you cannot smile. Look at, there's thousands of people and everyone's smiling.
So happy.
Like everyone. It's not like it's this weird vibe you get from looking at a shot. There's some such iconic photos. And, you know, I said to you, but before, I was taking everything in subconsciously. Like as soon as I see the photo, I could vividly remember the certain kids going past me and hugging my friends and hugging that. And, like there's so many things happened in that 40 hours. Yeah. So many cool little stories that get me pumped.
Was there a time ever, probably you say no, Nico, you're a dickhead, but was there a time ever you were like, I can't fucking go any longer?
Nah. No, not once, not for a single split second in it. Like I did have some negative thoughts come in, as if them, especially this one is pretty gnarly. I actually didn't sleep from 4 a.m. on the Tuesday morning. So I didn't sleep for 82 hours and I did the 40-hour surf within that. And that was the one thing that I thought going into it, I was like, you're really testing your resolve here with sleep. Yeah. Like you've done 40-hour runs before, but you didn't not sleep for 40 hours before going into it. I look back on a couple of my other adventures and there was this one where I didn't sleep for a whole day and I was just sort of trying to justify it, see what I might feel like.
Was that just nerves? Why didn't you sleep?
It was good energy. Yeah. There was a lot, like the surf school before I did it. Surf school's been busy and we've had, short on staff here and there and the waves have been big, what feels like forever since last year. We've had a lot of big swells and the sand got washed away. It's been really challenging doing that. So there's been added stress to my life through that for a bit. And then when it came around to the event, it was like an excited stress. Like it was like that energy was sort of getting put in the right place. Yeah. I was getting put in from worried about things I couldn't really control. Like I'm dealing with the ocean, but I care so much about my family to make money and provide for them, but also the people that come. I want them to have a good time, man. That's what I get a kick out of them, people coming down, and I owe it to them to have a good time in the water. Like that might be their only experience they ever get of surfing, and I want them to have a great time. I want my staff to provide a great time for these people and care like I do. Yeah. So it's not just about the money, it's about providing a service that, my area can be proud of. They're the right guys at the job, doing the right thing. So okay, so that stress sort of that I had through summer because I was so busy and moving everything around, and then coming into that, it was like the energy shifted. It was just put in the right place going, well, this is a cool opportunity, and you're doing it for a reason that's way bigger than yourself. And that was said from the start. If you know me, I always do those things like that. And it was just put in the right place at that time. So it wasn't like I was trying to go to sleep going, fuck, I need sleep. It was like, okay, you haven't slept that long, accept it. And when I was in the water, this is the coolest part. This is like, I actually wrote it to a friend last night. I was like, it was like the state I was in is the state that we all are aiming to be in, because I would have negative thoughts and they would come in and it would just be a thought and it would pass through and it'd disappear. Wow. I wouldn't sit on it. I wouldn't dwell on it. I wouldn't judge myself from it or judge anyone else from it. It would be like that. And that was a big one where it would go, wow, man, you haven't slept for 70 hours and you've still got 12 hours to go. You haven't slept for 7 hours. That would come in and it would pass. You know what I mean? I wouldn't sit on it, wouldn't dwell on it, and I'd just be present. And like, this sucks, but you've seen the end so many times. You're exactly where you're meant to be, no matter how bad it is. And that is just a pure, proper reflection on life, right? You know, how stuck you feel, how badly you want something to change or you want someone else to be better. That I think you've just, as easy as it is for us to say, I think it's what we need to think about when we're not feeling good and when we're feeling good, that we are exactly where we're meant to be.
Oh, that's everyone's dream, mate. Just having that, being able to just, no, it's not bothering me right now.
Imagine you could just choose those thoughts that made you better every time. Like that's the goal, right? Just continually be in that state where you're accepting the thoughts, not trying to push them away or ignore them because they're there for a reason. They're there for something. But to actually be able to focus on what's going to make you better and the world around you better and the people around you better.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
We've kind of mentioned, the reason or like who you did this for and who in memory of, and you've spoken so beautifully about your dad. And I wanted to bring up the last photo that I stole from your Instagram that I thought was really beautiful that you had up. And I believe it's both your parents.
Yeah.
It's this beautiful black and white photo. It looks like it's been taken in a photo booth. You did a little post about it on your Instagram. How does that picture make you feel, for starters?
Yeah, it's good. It's good. I like it. I see my dad super happy, right? That's how we remember him,
Yeah.
And I just think it's sad too, because I think he looks like he was enjoying himself there, and he was such a good dude that it's hard to actually. I mean, everyone's going to lose someone, right? It's a part of life, but to lose someone that is more than a dad, is like your best mate. You get along with your dad, right?
Yeah.
You can tell from the interviews and stuff. Like he had 5 boys that all wanted to hang out with him, that all, still, it's hard to get your head around that he's not there, not just call it a bit selfish reason, but just to hang out with him, not for anything but for his company, and just appreciate, his easygoing nature and authenticity. Like I mentioned before, it's hard to think of someone that was so loved and that could think so little of themselves to put themselves, to end it all. That's
definitely.
fucking. It's what I still struggle to comprehend.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you would for sure.
Yeah. And you were saying it's been 10 years now since you lost him. I mean, anyone who's experienced grief knows that time means nothing in terms of how you feel about sort of things, and especially when you miss them every day. And as you're describing, for people who haven't lost someone to suicide, I think it's probably incomprehensible, like how you even grapple with that. And you've done this incredible thing in his honor, and you clearly like carry him in sort of a lot of what you do. How what's the journey been like to kind of take that grief and then be able to channel it into this stuff that you do now?
Well, I think like the biggest lesson on grief, and it doesn't have to be about losing someone, it's just about being upset, is that it just shows how much love and how much appreciation you had for that person. There's nothing to be upset about. You're not depressed. It shows how grateful you were to have them in your life, and how much love and appreciation you had for them while they're alive. It's natural to feel devastated and to carry a piece of them with you forever because of what they meant to you. That's something to be proud of, not something to go, I need to feel better at night. It's like, that person meant so much to me because I love them so much, and I hope someone feels about that, mate. Like me one day. I want people to, remember me for making a difference and making them happy.
I heard someone say once that grief is just the love you have for that person that has nowhere to go because they're gone.
Yeah.
And I think that's really, really beautiful.
Mine's like, you never think about someone so much until they're not in your lives.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't thought about my dad. He's my dad, and I hung out with him and did all that. And he's gone and thinking about him every day for 1 or 2 years, and then every week, and pop back in your memory, and you never put that much thought into someone that was that present in your life. You know what I mean? And that just reiterates the fact that you've got to make the effort. Don't wait for other people to make the effort when they're alive and you're having a good time and you appreciate. Tell them you love them. I tell my mates I love them, and sometimes they don't like it. I love you, mate, and always write big love at the end of messages because I mean it, and I don't care.
Yeah.
I mean it. I'm not going to pretend I'm not. I care about them, and I want to know that they mean something to me too.
Yeah, I was just about to ask, is there something you do every day, or you set up with your mates, like you tell your mates you love them all the time, but is there something that you do every day to put in place that makes sure your mental health's in check? Like, I know a lot of people do like 3 gratefuls every day, or the gratitude thing.
Yeah, I do that with my grums,
Yeah, you do that?
Do that with my grums. Me and my grums do 7 big breaths, 7 big breaths, 7 seconds in, 7 seconds out, and 3 things we're grateful for. I do that with them every night before we go to bed, after we wrestle. And then no, it's just routine. I've had a life where I've travelled, barely went to school, got everything given to me when I was young, had the surf school, got the opportunity, open and closed because the waves are big. I get to surf here. I travel a lot. So there's not been much structure. And what I've found in the last sort of 6-7 years since I made those changes is routine is a massive part of your mental health. Just having something consistent. That's something that I need to do. It doesn't have to be 4 a.m. get-ups like I've done for the last 7 years. It's like, it is, it's just having that bit of routine and consistency in it that, I think that's a really.
Do you take a lot of ownership now of like when you're sensing your mates might be down or something, that you check in them constantly, or you
always have? Always have. Now it's just more people from around the world have kind of texted a message in, and it took me 11 days to write back personally to everyone that texted me or wrote to me from that. And that was something that I said again, I do. I don't see myself as anyone special, and if I can help in the littlest way, then I will do it.
For sure.
Without to agree, that was pretty draining. I was like, I'm still doing this line to my wife. Like, this is heavy. She says, you got to look after yourself first. So you can. She knows me. She knows what I'm about. She says, you got to do what you say. You got to look after yourself first, so you can deliver yourself better to everyone else, right?
Yeah, that's right.
For sure. So she was reminding me of that as I was going through it, because I was just so adamant about getting back to whoever it was that made the effort and supported it and helped it be what it was, you know. It wasn't just granola. It felt like it kind of went everywhere. So
a lot of people underestimate like how powerful it can be just a small little text messages to someone and you replying as well. Like I'm a big mental health advocate like yourself, and I try and take ownership of checking in on my mates who are someone I haven't checked in for like once a week or every fortnight. I'll check in with someone else. It's something so little. It takes 30 seconds to do. So why can't more people do it? You know what I mean?
For sure.
Like I try and tell my mates that like it's not hard.
Especially if you know if you have an impact with someone slightly, that connection. You know what I mean? And then to do it, to not wait for it. Like a lot of people wait for things to happen or someone to reach out to them. But if you know you have that, you're a bit more open and just say how you going, or what you've been up to lately, just spontaneously as well. I think that means like they're thinking about me, like gives them that little bit of connection if they're not even seeking it themselves.
That's right, definitely.
I think that's important
for sure.
And so back to the surf for a minute, you were obviously raising funds for the Chumpy Pullen Foundation.
Yeah.
How much did you end up raising in the end?
So far, it's 423,000.
Holy moly!
Yeah, pretty epic.
Yeah,
so sick.
And what is the hope to use those funds for mental health?
That's why I was pumped to do it with the Chumpy, because as we've spoken about, I work with a lot of kids. We do a lot of surf camps. I have for the last 15 years. A lot of like elite surf grom camps, and I've been a part of Surfing Australia. I used to coach the World Australian team. I took them to Ecuador one year. So I've always been around high performance surfing, and then I just like seeing people grow as well, not just in their performance of it as a person. I think a lot of the good coaches have that as their underlying passion, and just see my surf camps sort of develop into sort of more holistic wellness camps, and that's pretty simple. We do ice baths and get them outside and do breathwork sessions and teach them these little practical tools. So it's not just surfing and getting better there; it's becoming a better human. And then we've been doing them with local schools and taking them down the coast and getting them off their phones and doing all that. So this has just been something I've been so proud of that's developed. Me and Lauren run them, and my staff come down, and the staff have a great time hanging out in that environment too. It's really good for everyone that's involved. And it's not cheesy, it's not spiritual, it's none of that. It's just practical. It's fun, outdoors, healthy food. Get up, just push yourself a bit harder, go all in and have a massive day. And you're cooked at the end of the 2 days, but you've surfed, you've supped, you've surfed 5 times, you've supped, you've done 2 bush runs, you've jumped off the rocks and swam in the water, you've played volleyball, you've listened to someone play guitar, you've had a good talk about gratitude, and like you've packed it in, and it just kids don't even look at their phones, So it's just something a way that we can influence, rather than just another conversation, another check-in. It's all right, these are some tools we can give them amongst them developing, that they can introduce to their daily lives to make them happier and more emotionally stable, and help them, become better versions of themselves. And I think that's the way that we can make a big change with mental health in general, make a generational change, Like we talk about, the older people always talk about, we didn't talk about when we were young. Are you okay, Black Dog? That didn't exist when I was young. I'm like, yeah, well.
It does now.
It does now. You know what I mean? It's never too late to intervene and help. And I think if we get in with the kids and just make it a part of life, so there's not any stigma at all. It doesn't have to be. And it takes people like yourself, Nico, and people that are genuinely passionate about it, you know what I mean? It's not just another cool wellness business idea. It's actually, I think you can see through that pretty easily. Like, there's a lot of people trying to make a buck on it, but, the people that really do care about it will shine through it for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Love that. That's awesome.
And because you do work with so many kids and that, with the sort of mental stuff that they're struggling with, is there any sort of like reoccurring themes or things that you kind of like, oh, far out, we need to like get them away from it? Is it the phones? It's definitely the phones. Yeah.
It's definitely, that's where they're going to have their most influence, right? And I think you can, like, I'm a parent as well.
Yeah.
So I think you can come from old school too much as well and be like, oh, no phones, no this and that. We used to sit and watch the telly for 4 hours a day, and that was normal. Just looking at a screen. You got to be some links. Can't be no phones, none of this. But like the last camp I did, we said, all right, we'll put the phones in a box like we normally do. But after the first 5 hours, no one had their phone. These are 15-year-olds that came down on the bus like that, and then we're just making them do stuff. And because I showed vulnerability, and I was like, playing handball with them and being a kook, and the coaches were doing the same thing. That they sort of let go, and the shackles come off pretty easy when you just put them all together and not have expectations for them other than just to show up and do their best. And that might be just, half of them did the bush run, half of them did the walk. It was just about being outside, doing something they've never done, getting up that early and, walking through the bush, jumping off the rocks and doing those things together in front of one another is super powerful for them. So it's powerful for everyone. But
for sure.
the teachers have as good a time as the kids.
Yeah.
So it's not just about the kids, but I think us living by example and living that way is the most powerful tool we can have for the younger generation.
For sure.
And
doing that as parents, you don't have to be a superstar like Nico.
Yeah.
You can be a dad that's proud of his being healthy and tries to be the best version of themselves. And, big part of why I don't drink is because I thought, I got that choice too. I want to get up at 4 o'clock every morning, then I'm going to feel better. And I've got enough personality to hang out and talk and start late if I want. I'm not going to be pointing fingers if they drink. I want everyone to have a hell time doing what they love to do. So,
all the young generation, all they really need is someone to show care. Like they just want someone to show that they care in them, and some fun, have a bit of fun, show they care and show interest in what they do in their life. And that's when they'll open up. If you create such a good space where the kids want to go play handball with you because you show that you care and that you're authentic with them, and that's why they don't want to be on their phones. And that's what we just need more like people doing. Just
I think the ocean's such a good tool for it too, because even with high performance surfers, like there's boundaries for everyone, out there. The ways that we can push them in the ocean, introducing someone to the ocean and just learning a new skill or getting better at that skill. The ocean's just so unpredictable, like life. It's just ebbs and flows, and it's just the perfect analogy sort of to against it. So it's
love that. You've spoken a bit about your own little grums and your wife, and I did want to ask goat milk. That was exactly what I wanted to ask about, because that seemed to be everywhere, the goat milk thing. But they're obviously your immediate support network, and how have they been in this last little while with you?
Awesome. So normal. They're used to it. It's
Yeah.
nothing different. Like I've always done surfed my brain, like I'm always up to something. I feel sorry for Lauren sometimes. I feel just like put my backpack on, see you in the morning, babe, I'm going for a run, like things like that. But no, she's special.
And sorry, have you always called her goat milk, or was it just because you did that video?
Nah, for years.
Love
for
that.
years.
Yeah,
for years.
So for people who didn't see, or even at the end when you came out, and there was whoever was on the mic was sort of like, thank you everyone. And I remember hearing that person being like, and the goat milk, and everyone was like, the goat milk, and obviously talking about your wife. That's the best ever. And what do you, so you've got 2 sons?
2. Bobby 11 and Duke 8.
And are they, I guess, do they realize how massive what you just did was?
Not
or
really.
Nah, they don't really care.
Really.
Hey,
they
kids
say
don't
some
really care.
pretty cute things. You know what I mean? We got home that night. Bobby's on there and goes, world record longest surf for kids. So he's like, he's directly
trying to do it
influenced,
himself.
right? Like thinking of what he can do. Like, what's the kids' world's longest surf, Dad? Like doing those things. And I don't push anything on my kids. Like I've exposed them to the ocean. They're amazingly comfortable in the water.
Yep.
But Bobby's not the best surfer because I'm letting him, he surfs good.
Yeah.
He surfs good, but he's not like world class. He's comfortable in the ocean in bigger surf than anyone else I know his age. And he's a tiny little tacker too. He's like me, he's quite small. And I've just exposed them to it so that if they connect with it and want to make that their pursuit, then they can, you know what I mean? I want them to be themselves. And, I probably had the opportunity, I could have pushed him way more and made him come to more lessons that I'm coaching and surround him more. But I really wanted him to know who he is before he kind of does that too. I've been around high performance surfing for a long time, and I've seen so many relationships, as you would have through any sport, just long term. It never ends up, I can almost say it never ends up being an amazing story with parents that are just do this. You know what I mean? Mm. Who are they really doing it for is the question. And my thing is, we've all got to stay in our lane. Each is as important as the other. The parent, the coach, you don't want to cross over those lanes so that you can maintain that relationship with your kid and you can maintain that coaching relationship with the athlete. And I think that's important. I think that just gets blurred so easy in all sports, but especially surfing because it's such a cool lifestyle that everyone wants to be part of, right?
Yeah, so, for sure.
That's a big thing I do with my coaching. And sort of, I haven't stepped away from it, but I just I just don't like that side of it. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
I love it when I took Bobby Jiu-Jitsu and the parents weren't allowed to go upstairs. I was kind of devout at first, and I thought, no, it's great discipline. You know, they've got to be accountable for their actions in there without their parent being there, and I love that. I love that. I can't do that at the beach. So people are happy to be sitting on the beach. So,
Yeah.
like, you go to Allura, we're surfing Wanda.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for this chat, Blakey. It's so cool to hear your mindset, and I think the impact that you're having just by doing what you do, but also sharing a lot of this wisdom will be felt by listeners, and really appreciate you making the time and being vulnerable with us. I will let Nico ask you the last question we ask all of our guests.
Yeah, they ask all the guests. If you're looking in a mirror right now, and you right now is looking at your younger self, what do you think your younger self would be thinking of you right now?
He'd be proud of me.
Yeah.
He'd be proud of me for sure.
Any advice you'd give him?
You're exactly where you're meant to be, buddy.
Love that. That's awesome. How good.
Beautiful.
I cried then.
Well,
Yeah. Love that.
It's weird.
yeah.
It's cool.
It's an interesting
I
one.
just fully
Yeah.
pictured myself looking up at me.
Yeah.
Mm.
That's what I like to do. Like, I thought about it before I come on the podcast. I was like, we need something like powerful to finish with. And then I pictured myself looking at my younger self in the mirror and him smiling, looking back at me, going, "Fire, I'd be so proud of you right now, eh?" Like, and all the challenges you face. But that's awesome. I thank you very much for coming on here. And you inspired Dale Finucane and I massively, because we were sitting there sitting on the sand, and we watched you come in. And the next day, Dale and I both went, "What can we do? What's a world record we can do? What's something we can do now?"
Sick.
And both of them were like brainstorming ideas, like, maybe we can do this, maybe we can do that. And I have no doubt, like, him and I weren't the only ones there thinking the exact same thing, man. So what you've done is you should be so proud, and the whole Shire got around it, and it was not even the Shire, like the whole world even, and you've done it for such a good cause, and I know your old man will be so proud of you, and thanks so much for sharing. It's been amazing.
Good. The message is clear. Everyone deserves to feel awesome, right? So
Yeah.
Right.
Love that.
there it is.
Well, thank you so much for listening to this episode of When We Grow Up. Massive thank you again to Blakey for making the time. Make sure you're hitting subscribe wherever you're listening, and following us on Instagram at When We Grow Up Pod to be the first to know when a new episode that's as amazing and as inspiring as this drops. And yeah, I guess we'll catch you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.
You.
You.